Hi there folks, my name's Richard Turl and it's my privilege to be one of the leaders of Mickfield Evangelical Church. We're slap bang in the middle of sunny Suffolk and like everyone else we've got into this lockdown and we've had to go online. We meet on Zoom, we have services on YouTube and a load of videos up there as well as Facebook and Instagram. You can find out more about us there. This week we're going to take a look at 5 reasons that Jesus is for the public benefit. What do I mean by that? Well, recently as a church we've been trying to become a particular kind of charity, a CIO, and to become a charity you have to prove to the Charity Commission that you're for the public benefit. There's been a more recent debate, hasn't there, about, well, should churches be going back to public worship? What is even the benefit for society of churches meeting together again? Is there a benefit? Are churches beneficial at all for society? I don't want to talk about those things today, but I do want to talk about the idea that Jesus might be for the public benefit. And today we're going to look at the whole issue of public leadership. Now, there are different styles of leadership out there. There's a massive literature on the subject of leadership. This is a massively important subject and it affects all areas of life. A lot of the focus at the moment is on the issue of integrity. What does Jesus bring to this whole idea of public leadership? Well, Jesus contributes the idea of servant leadership, and I believe that this is the best form of leadership, a servant leadership. Jesus said that he came to this world not to be served but to serve and to give his life as a ransom for many. Now Jesus, in Christian belief, Jesus could have lorded it over people. He could have used his position, clung to his position and his privileged status, but instead he used his position and authority and leadership to serve other people. He humbled himself and served others, ultimately in dying on the cross to save people from their sins. And this is Jesus' model of leadership, that leaders should be humble, that human leaders should be other person focused, that they should be service focused, that leaders should be under the law, not above the law. Now imagine what that looks like in a society if we all take hold of those principles and lead as servant leaders. If you lead your family as a servant leader, if you lead in the workplace in a serving kind of way, if your bosses are servant leaders, imagine that. If their bosses are servant leaders, if the government was full of servant leaders, isn't that what we all long for? Isn't that the expectations that we already have for our leaders? We want integrity, we want service, we want humility from our leaders. I'd encourage you to watch the video by Glenn Scrivener on YouTube. Glenn Scrivener has produced a video called Equality, Integrity, Humility and Dominic Cummings, and it's a very fascinating video on this whole subject. The first Prime Minister of India in 1963 said this: "Fellow citizens, I have come to you as your first servant," because that is what the term Prime Minister means. His Western education had exposed him to Jesus' concept of servant leadership, that the Prime Minister is the first servant of all. He'd been exposed to this concept of servant leadership, a leadership which is always for the public benefit.